stories of the day. Understand the issues that matter. This is Manila Bulletin News on Web. Your quick rundown of top news in the country and around the world. Manila Bulletin, celebrating 120 years of timely stories and timeless truths. Be fully informed. Hi, I'm Barbie Atienza. This is MB Now, and here are your news on web. Despite the preference of President Duterte on the COVID-19 vaccines made by Russia and China, the Philippines Vaccine Experts Panel is not pressured to give preference to them. According to the DOH, all vaccines that will enter the Philippines will have to go through the country's regulatory process. Our correspondent Ana Lu de Vera tells us more.
The Philippines Vaccine Experts Panel is not under pressure to give preference to COVID-19 vaccines made by Russia and China, which are being preferred by President Duterte. Department of Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeres said all vaccines that will enter the Philippines will have to go through the country's regulatory process. The president last Monday said that they will prioritize vaccines developed by Russia and China if they are proven safe and effective against COVID-19.
Hindi naman, walang pressure, Katulad ng sabi natin, kung ano man ang dadating na bakuna dito sa ating bansa, it will go through the usual and our, yung ating regulatory process. Kung ano man yung meron tayong mga regulations sa bansa, ipapatupad natin. In the same manner, kung ano man ang mga batas na meron tayo sa bansa, ipapatupad din natin. Katulad niyang RA 9184, lagi naming inuulit-ulit, hindi ho tayo magkaroon ng commitment, for us to prepay a specific vaccine.
Vergeres said that the country is still in talks with other vaccine developers in order for the Philippines to have access to potential vaccines.
All efforts are being strengthened, para tayo ay magkaroon ng posisyon para we can also access vaccines in spite of the different provisions of our law which somehow restricts us para dito sa mga arrangements na gusto ng ibang manufacturer. So unang-una na diyan, 'di ba? Sabi natin sumali tayo sa COVAX facility. Itong COVAX facility na ito, this is going to provide assistance to low and middle income countries, itong COVAX facility, para magkaroon ng equitable access ang mga bansang ito dahil alam naman ng WHO at saka ibang international reputable organizations na ang mga mahihirap na bansa at ang mga middle income countries, hindi sila agad-agad makaka-access because of financing.
Malacanang announced last month that an expert panel review from the Philippines will first have to review the results of the first and second phases of the clinical trials of the Russian vaccine this month. For MB Now, this is Ana Lu de Vera reporting.
The 1-meter physical distancing measures being implemented in public transportation will remain according to Malacanang. It was initially announced that physical distancing will be reduced to 0.75 meters, but the medical frontliners appealed for it to remain at 1 meter. Our Malacanang correspondent Argil Heducos has the story.
Malacanang announced that the physical distancing measures being implemented in public transportation will remain at 1 meter per passenger. Presidential spokesman Harry Roque made the statement after President Duterte ordered the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases to take another look at its decision to ease the distancing measures to 0.75 meter following the appeal of medical frontliners. In his Thursday presser, Roque said that Transportation Secretary Arthur Togade announced in Thursday's IATF meeting the suspension of the implementation of the new protocol as the body is yet to submit its recommendation to the President.
Kaka-anunsyo lang po ni Secretary Togade sa nagaganap na IATF meeting na balik 1 meter distancing muna po tayo sa pampublikong transportasyon habang wala pa pong desisyon ang Presidente kung ito nga po ay po pwedeng maibaba sa 0.75.
With this development, Roque said President Duterte will not be able to make an announcement on Thursday.
Maalala niyo po na sinabi ko na baka today po ang desisyon ni Presidente. Baka hindi po mangyari yan dahil ang report po na pag-aaralan ni Presidente ay isusumiti pa lamang ngayong araw po At inaasahan natin na siguro po magkakaroon ng desisyon ng Presidente sa Lunes sa kanyang susunod na talumpati sa taong bayan.
The IATF initially approved reducing the physical distancing measures inside public transportation from 1 meter to 0.75 meter. The palace official, however, insisted that the decision and recent recommendation of the IATF to President Duterte was based on doctors' advice. He likewise said it was important to open up transportation so people can go to work. For MB Now, this is Argil Heducos reporting.
Meantime, former Health Secretary Manuel Dairit insisted that the move of the Transportation Department to ease the physical distancing rule in public transport is reasonable. In today's Palace media briefing, Dairit said the easing of physical distancing rules would be possible if the other interventions are followed. Last Tuesday, a group of healthcare professionals led by Dairit said they understand the need to revitalize the country's economy. The World Health Organization, or WHO, recommends maintaining a 1 meter distance from other people.
Ngayon, ang physical distancing of 1 meter, sinasabi ng, and I will respectfully beg to disagree. Ang sinasabi nila, dapat yan, hindi pwedeng i-compromise kasi yan ang sinabi ng WHO. Ngayon, ganito po yung katotohanan dyan. WHO makes certain norms and standards. And you remember, they're trying to do this for all countries. But when they do these norms and standards, hindi po yan dogma. That is not gospel truth. In fact, WHO asks the countries to deal with this according to their own context.
President Duterte gave incoming PhilHealth chief an ultimatum to clean up the corruption in the state firm before the year ends. Duterte has also expressed support for the abolition or privatization of the government firm. Our Malacanang senior correspondent Jen Cabiling has this report.
Philippine Health Insurance Corporation President Dante Giran has been given an ultimatum by President Duterte to clean up the corruption-tainted state firm, suspend or terminate any erring officials before the end of the year. The ultimatum on the PhilHealth cleanup was issued after the President's expressed support for the abolition or privatization of the government firm that has been plagued with corruption allegations, according to presidential spokesman Harry Roque. Giran, former director of the National Bureau of Investigation, was appointed to head PhilHealth late last month. He replaced Ricardo Morales, who resigned due to his medical condition.
The President wants to clean up PhilHealth, and that is why the deadline given to Attorney Giran is to enable him, or a deadline to clean up the organization. File all the cases that need to be filed, suspend, terminate, whatever you need to do in order to cleanse the ranks of PhilHealth. Hindi naman po ibig sabihin na ang termino niya ay hanggang dun lamang.
Roque also confirmed reports that the President wants PhilHealth abolished or transformed into a private entity.
Ang pagkakaintindi ko, talagang ang paninindigan ni Presidente either i-abolish or i-privatize yan. At sinabi naman po niya yan sa pagpupulong niya sa ilang miyembro ng IATF. No? At ganyan din po yung original bill ko na hinain sa 17th Congress, i-abolish yung PhilHealth, palitan ng National Health Service. Pero ang pagkakaintindi ko po, sabi ni Senate President Tito Sotto, wag muna, tignan muna natin kung malilinis ang PhilHealth at tignan natin kung mareremedyohan dito sa kanyang proposed bill na gawing chairman nga ng Board of Directors ng PhilHealth, ang Secretary of Finance at hindi ang Secretary of Health, dahil ang primary function naman ng PhilHealth is that of an insurance business, and therefore it should be the Secretary of Finance and not the Secretary of Health chairing the board.
Roque, however, said Senate President Vicente Sotto III has suggested to better wait if PhilHealth can still be cleansed by the new management before making a final decision on the abolition or privatization of the state health insurer. Early this week, the President endorsed the filing of administrative and criminal complaints against resigned Chief Ricardo Morales and several other high-ranking PhilHealth officials over the alleged anomalies in the state firm. The task force recommended the filing of complaints for offenses such as graft, malversation of public funds, tax violations, gross neglect of duty, and falsification of documents. For MB Now, this is Jen Kabiling reporting.
The Department of Education is mulling over the airing of 130 lecture episodes on television to help students cope with the new learning system and the COVID-19 pandemic starting on October 5. At the hearing of the Senate Committee on Basic Education, Arts and Culture, DepEd Director Abram Abanil told senators each lecture episode will last around 20 minutes with 5-minute breaks in between. According to the DepEd official, there were supposed to be 220 subject areas, but the agency has no capability yet to produce such amount of episodes. DepEd partner channels in TV education include IBC 13, PDV 4, Solar TV, Planet Cable, and the Philippine Cable and Telecommunications Association and Signal TV. As of this month, the agency has 5 studios, 18 public schools for off-site shootings, 107 teacher broadcasters, and 72 production staff. Meantime, Undersecretary Nepomuceno Malaluan disclosed that the DepEd is also trying to come up with a mechanism regarding suspension of classes during a quarantine setting. Malaluan said it may be up to the discretion of local government units to suspend classes, just like during pre-COVID situations. Travel pass is not required for Tagaytay visitors. That is what Cavite Governor John Vic Remulla announced on his official Facebook page this morning. The clarification came 2 days after it was announced that non-Cavite residents will need to secure a pass to enter the popular weekend destination. At present, Tagaytay City is open under modified general community quarantine and a travel pass is not needed to go there. Remulla warned visitors to practice strict health protocols after 250 cadets in the Philippine National Police Academy along Tagaytay-Santa Rosa Road tested positive for the coronavirus disease. In Metro News, San Juan to launch police bike patrollers. Quezon City government starts distribution of tablet devices for blended learning system. And Mayor Isko Moreno launches Manila Restaurant Week. More from this report.
The city government of San Juan will launch today the Philippine National Police San Juan Bike Patrollers to strictly implement the city's ordinances on new normal, face shield, and anti-spitting. Mayor Francisco Zamora approved the ordinances passed by the City Council against spitting in public places, non-wearing of face masks and face shields, and other precautionary measures against the spread of coronavirus. The biking public as well as the police bike patrollers will have a safer commute along the streets of San Juan with the installation of bollards to protect bike lanes from other vehicles plying the city streets. He said that bicycles and e-scooters will be allowed on bike lanes with a maximum speed of 25 kilometers per hour. The Quezon City government has started the distribution of 176,000 tablets devices that the city public's junior and senior high school students will need for this year's blended learning system. A total of 155,121 junior high school and 19,810 senior high school students will be allowed to use the tablets according to the local government. The tablet devices were procured using the 2.9 billion supplemental budget allotted by the city for this school year. Aside from the gadgets, the local government will also give modules as well as learning and hygiene kits, not only to the students but also to teachers. Mayor Joy Belmonte recently said that the city will also fund the internet connection of kinder to grade 12 public school teachers to address their concerns. Manila Restaurant Week, a food festival that will be held from September 20 to 27, was formally launched by Manila Mayor Francisco Isko Moreno Dumagoso at the Manila Hotel. Dumagoso said the project's objective was done not only to showcase capital city's diverse food selection, but also to help businesses that were affected by the COVID-19 crisis. The Department of Tourism Chief gives its full support for the food festival. Dumagoso reiterated his belief that the government must help protect the public's lives as well as their livelihood amid the pandemic. Award-winning singer and actress Lea Salonga also showed her support to the project by performing her song Dream Again virtually during the launch. Over 60 food establishments are said to participate in the Manila Restaurant Week. Fixed breakfast, lunch, and or dinner meals will be offered to patrons at affordable prices.
Here are the top news in other parts of the country. Ilocos Norte's displaced PUV drivers hired as delivery riders. 1 meter physical distancing remains in effect in Cebu City. And DPWH turns over mega isolation facility in Iligan. More from this report.
Public utility vehicle drivers displaced by the COVID-19 restrictions on public transportation have found a new career as delivery riders to service customers in various areas in Ilocos Norte. The employment of the displaced PUV drivers was made possible by the collaboration between the provincial government of Ilocos Norte and Arkila, a local delivery service provider. The local government's Inbayunihan Recovery Program accepts applicants aged 21 years to 60 years old and must be physically healthy. Application form may be downloaded from the Metro Ilocos Norte Council's official Facebook page. The 1 meter physical distancing rule inside public transportation will still be in effect in Cebu City. In a memorandum issued by City Mayor Edgardo Labella on Thursday, stated that 1 meter distance will still be enforced in order to sustain the city's efforts in preventing the transmission of COVID-19. The city is already under the modified general community quarantine and has already allowed some modern jeepneys to ply their route. Wearing a face mask and face shields in PUVs is still mandatory. The Department of Public Works and Highways turned over a mega isolation facility to the local government unit of Iligan City on Wednesday. DPWH Undersecretary Emil Sadain said the mega facility, which was completed in just 2 weeks, has a 120-bed capacity which can be expanded further. Chief Implementer of the National Task Force Against COVID-19, Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr., also handed 2,000 personal protective equipment and N95 masks to the local government during the turnover ceremony.
In world news, Hurricane Sally drenches U.S. Gulf Coast. Panama seizes almost 3 tons of drugs in latest operation. And world's first living coffin made from mushrooms in the Netherlands. Let's watch this report.
Sluggish Hurricane Sally was dumping torrential amounts of rain on the U.S. Gulf Coast on Wednesday and threatening historic and catastrophic flooding in parts of Alabama and Florida. Residents of some areas were grappling with power outages, downed trees, and flooded streets and homes as Sally drenched swathes of the coast with copious amounts of rain. More than 500,000 homes and businesses in Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi have lost power, according to the tracking site poweroutage.us. Some of the worst reported flooding was in the city of Pensacola, Florida, which has a population of around 52,000. Residents posted pictures of downtown streets resembling lakes, with cars submerged to the tops of their wheels, and wind gusts whipping up whitecaps on the water. Almost 3 tons of drugs have been seized in the latest operations by the Panamanian authorities. It's an increase in drug trafficking in the Caribbean coast of the country, where provisional prisons for former Panamanian governor arrested for alleged drug trafficking. Panamanian justice ordered this Wednesday provisional imprisonment for former pro-government governor Eric Ivan Martello, detained 2 days earlier for alleged drug trafficking, while local authorities warn of an increase in the transfer of drugs through the Caribbean to the United States. Panama has become a corridor for drugs coming from South America, mainly Colombia, to the United States, the world's largest consumer. Panama broke its record for drug seizures in 2019 with almost 91 tons, mostly cocaine. The figure exceeds the previous mark of 85 tons in 2017. A Dutch startup has created the world's first living coffin made from mushrooms at the Delft University of Technology. The invention of its founder, Bob Hendricks, says the coffin will help decompose the body faster and enrich nature instead of polluting it. According to Bob, it's made from mycelium, which is the root structure of mushrooms, and they're the biggest recyclers in nature, so they can decompose our body into new nutrients for nature to flourish.
In entertainment, broadcaster Corina Sanchez Rojas believes that ABS-CBN will be back soon as she paid tribute to her network for more than 30 years. In an emotional post on Instagram September 17, Corina said that the Kapamilya network will always be in her heart and mind. She also added that her experiences, knowledge, exposure, and her life grew with the network through more than 30 years of working with the men and women of ABS-CBN. She ended her post saying that ABS-CBN will always be in her heart and mind and that they will definitely see each other again. Thailand has its own remake of the classic hit Meteor Garden, and it will star no other than the lead stars of the hit BL or Boys Love series together. GMM-TV, which will produce a remake, said Win Opas Iam Kajorn and Vachirawit Bright Chicha Rari, dubbed as Bright Wind by fans, will take on the role of Thai or Dao Ming Si and Kevin or Wazi Lei respectively. Brightwind will star alongside actress Tuton Tawan Tantive Jakul and actors Nani Hirongkit Changham and Ju Jirawat Sutiv Vanisak. The series, titled F4 Thailand, is set to air in 2021. And in sports, Fil-Am Vanessa De Jesus of Duke University disclosed she would make herself available when the opportunity comes to play for the Gilas Pilipinas women's national team. And an incoming freshman with the Blue Devils, De Jesus has been in constant communications with the Samaang Basketball ng Pilipinas through women's head coach Pat Aquino. A product of the Sierra Canyon girls basketball program, De Jesus, whose parents are from Manila and Pangasinan, will play for Duke this season of the USNCAA. Duke has produced a number of WNBA players, including Tricia Liston of the 2015 champion Minnesota Lynx and Alina Beard of the 2016 winner Los Angeles Sparks. Aquino, who has steered the women's national team to gold medal wins in the 5-on-5 and 3-on-3 events in last year's Southeast Asian Games here in Manila, said De Jesus would be a great addition to Gilas. And those are the news on web today, September 17, 2020. It's just 99 days before Christmas. For more news and details, get your copy of Manila Bulletin newspaper tomorrow or log on to www.mb.com.ph. And you may also subscribe to our newsletter through the link on this video's caption to have the day's latest news delivered to your inbox. I am Barbie Atienza for Manila Bulletin, celebrating 120 years of timely stories and timeless truths. Join us again tomorrow. This has been MB Now. Be fully informed.